Anyway, so here we have a Carlton. This is a Carlton kitty. Has absolutely nothing to do with sculpting. I'm going to put him down. And I just realized I've got to slow some things down. Okay. Okay, that might help things. Carlton, I just put you on the floor. Oh. Down. Ooh. Shoot. Alright, what I'm trying to say is, okay, first of all, if you're watching this after the fact, which almost certainly you are, don't forget, like, subscribe, bell icon, the usual nonsense, and Cubic Photon, amazing miniatures. And what's going to happen today? Let me go ahead and see if I've got... no, that's not what. Cancel. I know what I'm going to do. File. Open. There. Yeah. Okay. And then we add source, screen capture, window capture. There. Okay, that's kind of a bit small. Let's try this. What this is, there is a page out there. There we go. There's a page out there that went through the list of every character made on Roll20 for 1 month. And it came up to somewhere around, no, was it 1 month or was it 1 year? Anyway, it was 50,000 characters made. 50,000. And they separated them by race and class, so that they could find out, what's the most common classes and races and what's the least common. Well, I took that information and I combined elf and half-elf, because people who play half-elves either use elf or human miniatures, and usually it's the elf miniatures. And then I combined warlock, sorcerer, and wizard, because for them, and call it just caster, because for them, the miniatures are almost identical. You really can't say, okay, this guy in robe is a sorcerer, but this guy in robe is a warlock. There's nothing visible on the surface. Okay. Anyway, so I went and I sorted them by most common to least common. And what we see, I'm putting you down. What we see is this list right here. And it's a pretty long list. Now, I didn't do every race. I only did races that I already had, or in the case of Dragonborn, had planned for the new base mesh. So we go from Elf Caster, it's Wizard, Warlock, or Sorcerer, as the most common, with Human Fighter right behind. And the least common is a Gnome Paladin. And then what we're going to do is we're going to start from the bottom up. You can see my mouse there. Yeah, we're going to start from the bottom up. Which means tonight is a Gnome Paladin. Yay. Let me go ahead and close this. Clink. And remove that process. Clink. Alright, now, some of you may know that I've been having problems with my Ender 3. Turns out, it wasn't a gap. There was not a gap between the PTFE tube and the nozzle. Instead, immediately after this came off the printer, tail for the Tarrasque. Oh, let me... There we go. Tail for the Tarrasque. Immediately after it came off the printer, the hot end fan died. Well, not died, but it had a piece of debris that got stuck in it. I didn't realize it till early this afternoon, and finally got the next piece printed. Yes, this is my Tarrasque head. Rawr. So I've got the torso parts printing right now. 4 parts will combine together and then stick these on, and I'll have a Tarrasque torso. And once those parts are done, I start the limbs. But for right now, all I have is a Tarrasque sperm. Rawr. That's a pretty nasty looking... I wouldn't want to see this coming your way. Or a Tarrasque version of a deep sea gulper fish, where it's half head. Of course, like this, it's just a big old anglerfish with 2 angles. And something is happening that's causing a hiccup. And I don't know what. Give me just a second here. I'm going to pull up Task Manager and see what's taking so much daggone. Here in just a moment, we'll be pulling up Daz Studio, and I will be starting work on the Gnome Paladin, because we're starting at the bottom of that list, working our way up. So the last thing I make on that list will be the Elf Caster. Now, to be fair, I went ahead and decided that my avatar figure, the unpainted, unprimed, and the painted versions of which are actually in my case in the car, decided that that's going to be count as Elven Fighter. So anyway, let's go ahead and pop on over to Daz Studio, and now we're going to Content Library, and we're going to load in our new male figure. Bam. Okay. So we have our male figure. The next thing we're going to load in is the boots. But we're not going to load anything else in. Oh, tunic skirt. Let's load in the tunic skirt. Okay. We're going to hide the tunic skirt for and the boots for the purposes of posing. And now we're going to go to props, which... What we're going to do with this guy, we're going to go ahead and we're going to give him a heater shield. And then from this heater shield, we're going to rotate it a bit that way. And then we're going to give him a sword. The reason for this is most paladin-y, fightery types most paladin types specifically tend to do either great weapon or sword and shield. You don't really see too many dual wield paladins unless it's a dwarf dual wielding hammer and axe. Blah, blah, blah. So we've already done the gimmick of the halfling paladin with a weapon far too big for himself. So instead we're going to go with a regular sword. Now, one thing about this is that I'm going to go ahead and say that he'd probably be a rock gnome, not a forest gnome. Rock gnomes also tend to be a bit more like dwarves in their culture and their styles, but he's still going to have a sword and not a hammer or axe. So, what we're going to do is, what kind of sword would a gnome use? Would it be a falchion? Actually, it very well might be. Okay, now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to correct the hands. There we go. That's for your basic grips, as you can see. Now the next thing that we're going to do is hide. Actually, no, let's go ahead and go back here. We go to parameters, we go to races, and we set gnome to 100. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to do is we're going to go to that falchion, left view, or right view actually, and we're going to need to, first of all, let's set this to 0 twist. Anyway, we are now going to change its center of gravity because we need to shrink it, because it's too big for our Gnome. And then top view, a little bit over this way. Okay, now perspective view, and we go back to regular. With that selected, we're going to scale down the falchion. We're also going to scale down this overly large shield. Which kind of needs to come forward a little bit, just a little. There. So there's our gnome. What we need to do now is pose him. Okay. Among other things, we're going to close his mouth a little. We'll worry about the actual expression later. Pardon me for that. Anyway, so what we're going to do is we're going to rotate the hip this way, that way, and back a little. Okay, because we want the hips to be off center. We don't want the hips to be perfectly parallel to the ground. Okay. looks like he's going to be falling over because we now need to rotate the chest. And we're going to make the shield visible for this because we kind of need to. We're also going to change the rotation of the shield to a forward center grip. Now we're going to bring the shoulder forward and we're going to twist it that way a little. Right out and twist it this way. Whoops. Bend it and twist. Okay. Now we're going to take that shield and pivot it like that. Okay. And now, I actually need a little bit more pivoting on it. Yeah. We're now going to take the neck and twist it. Okay. Now we're going to have to make the falchion visible for this next part. We're going to have him raise his shoulder a bit. Because the idea will be, alright, we're going to raise that arm a little bit more. There we go. Actually, that's way too much. We're going to bring it forward this way. Bring this back like that. Oh. There we go. And we're going to now twist the wrist. And then just a little bit side to side. Let's try it this way. There. Now, one thing we need to do is, for the sake of construction, we need to make that actually touch. Just going to take that hand. It's currently at negative 18.93. Let's make that negative 18.75. Not enough. So, negative 18.5. it's actually making contact. That is for resin printing. Alright, and now when we pop out and we make our boots and skirt visible, we can see that we have our basic pose. We're also now going to click Control D. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to check the leg, look at the twist on this leg. It's at 0. Okay, we're going to look at the twist on this leg. 19.39. So now we're going to the skirt, hip, left thigh, Y twist, negative 19.39. Okay. Now what we're going to do is we're going to give him a bit of a grin there. So like this, we're going to then kind of bring it out. Yeah. And there we have our basic Gnome. The next thing that we're going to do, we're going to go to the front view. We got to move the foot. Twist it that way. And then we're going to move the toe a lot, and then Control D to drop it, and then now just a little bit. Okay. Now we're going to select both feet and pin them. We're going to go to back view, select the hip, going to move, and we're going to move it over slightly. And then Control D to drop. Well, first unpin all, Control D to drop. Actually, let's go ahead and grab this leg and let's bring it down a little. And let's see how well we're doing. Okay, frame out. No, I said frame out. And then we're going to select male boot base and go to details, turn wrinkles on 100%. You can see it's got wrinkles now. Well, hello board. You caught me while I'm in the middle of a Gnome Paladin. Okay. Now, one thing we're going to have to be thinking about as we do this figure, and that's what style of armor. Paladins are the cliché knight in shining armor. But how often would a gnome be in full plate? Now the next thing we're going to do, we're going to grab both of these feet. We're going to pin rotation and translation. Then we're going to select that and Y translate up. So that it's a bit less crouchy. We're also now going to unpin all. Unbend that a little bit more. Go to the right view. Okay, we're gonna twist the toe a bit more and bend it a bit more. We're also going to do that. Control D to drop it. Let's do that just for the sake of Control D to drop it again. And then lower it to the ground. And there we have a better a more upright stance for our Gnome. And then, just for the sake of, he's a fighter type. Yeah. Now we're going to tweak that musculature once we get into ZBrush, and most of it's going to get covered up, but it's there and we know it's there. Okay? So now we're going to hide the falchion, shield, tunic skirt, and not the boots. Let me check the resolution comparison. By that I mean if you look at the legs and where they meet the boots, you'll see that the legs are about 2/3 of the resolution. So we're going to take those boots and make them a little more subdivision level. Yeah. And so now we go back to texture shaded. We're going to File, Export. This is going to be in New Base Big Broadcast, new folder, Gnomeo. We're going to call him Gnomeo. Nombod. Okay. We're going to hide him and his boots. File, Export, Nom Skirt, Accept. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, okay, never mind. Hide the skirt. Then shield. File, Export, Nom Shield, Accept. And the sword. File, Export, Nom Sword, Accept. And we're going to go over to ZBrush. Hide that and let's make it fill the regular amount of the screen. And let me pop back to here real quick. Basically, one thing we got to consider, since he is a paladin, and that's well, what god is he going to worship? You know, I mean, is he going to be a paladin of one of the standard realms deities? Or is he going to be a paladin of a purely gnomish deity? Or is he going to be a paladin for a deity from outside cosmology, like the Norse or Egyptian or Celtic? We went with the non-human deities. Garl Glittergold is the primary deity of the gnomes, and his holy symbol is a gold nugget, which basically, when sculpted onto a shield, looks like a rock. Really fuzzbutt. Anyway, it would look just like a rock. Okay. Ugh. Oh, crazy kid. The funny thing about Garl Glittergold is he's a lawful good trickster god. As far as I know, the idea of a lawful good trickster god doesn't make any sense, does it, Fuzzbutt? No, I didn't think so. I'm putting you back down on the floor. I've got work to do. Okay. Anyway. There was a bit broader of a paradigm for the gnomes in earlier editions. I believe that some of them got absorbed into the realms, some of them just kind of faded out of existence, and I'm not sure. So, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead, we're going to leave the face of the shield blank, so that this Gnome Paladin's player can have whatever deity he wants painted onto the surface, or if he feels up to it, he can load the figure into ZBrush or Sculptress or Blender and sculpt the surface of the shield himself. So the first thing that's going to happen is we're going to import the body. Fig, broadcast, Gnomeo, Gnomebod. Gnomebod, don't bother me. And we draw it in. And as you can see, we have not yet changed our, since the reinstall, we have not yet changed our default material. Okay, before we do anything else, we're going to subdivide it a few times and dynamesh it at 1024. Okay, now we're going to duplicate it. Okay. And we're gonna go to Z remesher and remesh it at half. That's just to give some tooth for what we're about to do. All that muscle won't look good under the we're going to try and make armor based on it. We need a looser shape. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a looser shape. Okay, we're going to turn on transparency so it's easier for us to see this, and we're going to turn this guy off. Alright, now we go to geometry. We're going to dynamesh. We're only going to dynamesh 256. Then we're going to deformation, and we're going to polish 100. And again. And again. Then we're going to geometry, Z remesher, half. We want to get the simplest possible shapes to work with here. It still has too much bulge, too much bulbousness. So we're going to try and chop this down as low as possible. Yeah, this was the last one. Then we're going down, we're going to deformation, and we're going to polish it another 10 times. And then maybe 5 more. Yeah, there we go. Now, we're turning transparency back on and turning this guy back on because now we need to inflate this secondary body so that it is mostly, doesn't have to be completely, but it's mostly outside the body, because the thickness of the plates we'll be making will deal with it. Okay, now we go back to geometry and we subdivide it real low. One more. And we're going to dynamesh it at 1024. So that this way we have a high density to make our products from. Okay, now we're going to hide it. And we're going to insert the other parts. Oops, got to turn off transparency. Import Gnome skirt. Insert polymesh. Import Gnome shield. And insert polymesh. Import Gnome sword. Now we're going to hide the sword and shield and work on the skirt. First thing that's going to happen, I'm going to smooth where it meets down here. And right here. Okay. We're then going to duplicate it and move the duplicate down below that one. And then geometry, divide, 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 one more. Now we're going to take him and we're going to merge down. Yes, we always want that successful. And bam. We have our buddy. And also here we're going to smooth out a little bit. And now we're going to smooth out here. We're going to leave this line that goes this way because it gives us a nice base for, and then a little bit right there. Okay, then we're going to hide him. We're going to load in this guy and this guy. We're going to divide it a few times, delete lower, and then we're going to inflate it some. And we're going to merge down and draw, and then smooth out where it meets. The reason for this is where we're going to be getting all of our armor plates, our mail skirt, the usual from. And we don't want it to be too different from above. Okay, that's that. And as such, we're going to go ahead and break out the Wacom. We're going to turn on this button here so that from now on, anytime we change brushes, it'll automatically be normal. We're going to go to inflate. We're going to shrink the draw size to 10. Let's make that 15. And we're going to make what will be the male skirt. Okay? So, first things first, This is going to be under the waist plate. So we're going to go and just draw from here to there. And whoops. We're going to leave this here because what we're going to do is we're going to use it as, we're going to say that this skirt is shorter than the tunic underneath. And then bring it around this way. Up here. Fill this in. Hold on just a second. What is it? Oh. Useless. And then we are going to extract at 0. Accept. Draw. Select him again and draw. Select him and hide him. Alright. Bing. Zoom. Bam. Yeah. Now what we're going to do, we're going down to polygroups. And we're going to auto group. Okay. We're then turning on line fill, geometry, Z-remesher, half, and bam. You can see the lines here from where the joints met. Well, doing this gets rid of those lines. And then it also, now we're going to work on smoothing out the bottom. Once again, we want to go low res. 30,000 to 13. Wow, that's going pretty good. One more. And one more. One more. Yeah. Now let's see how well it fits over top of the regular guy. And as we can see, there's areas it doesn't fit just a little bit more. Okay. With the body underneath visible, so we can do this. Deformation, we're just going to do it in segments of 1. There we go. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to cap holes. It's under Modify Topology, close holes. Bam. Now, when we go and look at it through the line fill, you can see that it's a different color on top and bottom, and that's because it's technically 2 different polygon groups. So we're going to go back to geometry, and we're going to unweld groups border. This is to make it easier to UV map in just a moment. So we click unweld groups border. It changed the color of the groups, but if you look, you can see there's still 2 different groups. Now we're going to make him visible. Turn this off. And we're going to export extract to 0 as Gnome Male. Now I'm going to turn on UV layout. You can use whatever UV program you want for this. And I'm going to load. New base fig. broadcast Gnomeo and Gnomeo. Now, I'm going to hit D to drop the bottom and D to drop the top. Now, I'm going to take this one seam, I'm going to take the side seams, because we want it to have as much even as possible. And the sides are the areas that are the least often attention paid to. People look at front and back, not so much the sides. And now we're going to optimize, and bam! Wow, that was quick. We're going to select these two and kind of, no, we better not. We're not going to go, just going to kind of rotate them a bit. We're now going to go to pack, best quality, 3 bleed. That gives us a little gap between the shells, and we click pack all, and it's done. Then we're going to go to edit, auto fit, just to give us a little bit more border around them. Save all, save. Dismiss, exit. I'm not going to be doing any other mail for this gnome. And now we import Gnomeo. It looks the same, but it's not. We're going to go to geometry, and we're going to weld points. Now we're going to subdivide it quite a lot. At least 2 more. There we go. Delete lower, frame in. As you can see, if we look very carefully, it's still 2 separate groups, but they're welded together now. And now we're going to make the mail pattern. We're going to do that with surface, noise, UV. Then going to alpha, and under Free Sculpt Minis we have our alpha. This is going to be mail, so there. We're going to frame in and zoom. We're going to turn mix basic noise to 0. We're going to lower strength until we can easily see the pattern, and then just start shrinking the scale until it looks good. Let's make that 0.3 even. Okay. No, that's going to be too small on such a tiny figure, so we're going to change that from 0.3 to 0.4. Okay. Yeah, that'll look a lot better when it's that tiny. That tiny. And now we mask by noise. We're going to zoom in a little bit. We're going to click out here and it inverts it. Now we go to deformation. We go to inflate, and we're going to inflate a little bit until it looks good. Okay, that looks good. Not great, but good. We're going to click it again. We're going to deflate until it starts to poke through the low. That's good enough. That's mail. Okay. And there we have the male skirt. Base plate, but above his leg plates. See how easy that was just to make that chainmail pattern? Yeah. Pattern. Next up, we're going to have the breastplate. Now the thing about the breastplate is the breastplate and the back plate are going to be one piece here, but the waist plate is not. It's going to be, and so what we're going to do is we're going to bring this around. Actually, we're going to go up here and stroke on. We're going to turn on Lazy Mouse. because we want a nice even plate. Bring this down. The bottom of it doesn't matter as much. The bottom of it is going to be covered by the waist plate. Is a very specific task and technique. It's got to not only to allow mobility while giving protection. Now what we're going to do here is we're going to just kind of come around and come under the arms. And then we're going to bring this over that way, and then we're going to bring it around this way. These lines. This is going to come down some more. Well, and then come it around this way. And that gives us our nice smooth lines. Then we're going to turn off Lazy Mouse and tap it up a few and just start filling this back in. We're also going to turn off that because we don't want it getting in the way of filling this in. Now this will be the innermost part of the torso armor. Odd as it sounds to some people who how you've seen armor in fantasy games. That's because the waist plate actually fits over top of the breastplate. We are going to make a little seam dividing the breastplate and backplate on the sides and the shoulders, but the shoulders, the seam might be covered up by both the pauldrons, which is the shoulder armor, and the gorget, which is the neck armor. But what we're going to do is we're going to go and we're going to extract a 0.0125. Not enough. 0.015. Extract. Not enough. 0.02. Extract. Accept. Draw. And there you see it fits. Get a little bit looser, so to speak. So what we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and break out the clay layout, the clay build-up brush, and turn off Lazy Mouse. We're going to kind of build up in here, and smooth. Actually, no, we don't want to do that. We want to smooth that out. And hit 1, 2, 3, 4. We're also going to do the same thing right here in the back. And we're probably going to hit the smooth like 7 times. Make that 10. Okay, now we're going to smooth out this. Once again, I do believe that the neck will be covered by the gorget, and the bottom will be covered by the waist plate. Now we're going to smooth out here. Okay, and we're going to Dynamesh it. At 768. Shrink this and smooth it right here. Now we're going to make the male visible. Go back to him and click draw. And that kind of a breastplate, which means that the waist plate needs to be a little bit higher. Now the waist plate will have a peak in front and back. And once again, we're going to turn Lazy Mouse back on because this peak will need to be even. Not so much even as nice and smooth. Down below the bottom edge here and here. And we're going to turn off the breastplate in that and turn off transparency so that we can now bring this down to here and out. Now, as I said, some of you may know that I was having problems with my Ender 3, my brand new, my newer printer. Those problems were that it was jamming after about printing 1 centimeter. Well, thanks to someone on the Discords, the 3D printing Discord, in fact, I finally figured out what it was. There was a small amount of debris in the hot end fan, which meant the throat was getting hot, which meant there was no cool down from it, which meant staying melted in the throat and getting clogged. Okay, now we're going to turn off Lazy Mouse again, 1, 2, and fill in this area here. Make sure we get that. Yeah. Whenever you're doing this, make sure that you get all of it, because if you miss something, you can end up with a hole or a divot in your extraction. Okay, now that we've got those in shape, we're going to turn the breastplate and mail back on because we need to see that what we do is going to poke through. So we go back down to extract, we make this 0.035. Look back here. Not enough. Well, we're going to bend that out when we're done. Let's make that 0.038. Accept and draw. Now we're going to go to move. We're going to make it big. And we're going to turn on transparency. We're going to grab the tip up here and pull it out. And grab down here and pull it out. Now we're going to grab the tip up here in the center and pull it out. Just to kind of emphasize that. And grab here and pull it down and out. And back up, down, up, down, side to side. And we the waste plate. Now one thing we're going to need to do, we're going to dynamesh it at 256. And before we do anything else, we're going to clay build up. And we're going to kind of build up the belly area. This is not because we expect our gnome to be overweight, because gnomes aren't as chubby as dwarves are, but because we need to smooth out that area. Same thing is going to happen here. So I heard a rather kind of humorous 3D printing story. Apparently someone on one of the forums out there somehow had a wasp stuck under his hot end. And died and caused a failure of the print at the same time. And here. Okay, now we're going to go to slash add. No, not slash. Yeah, slash add. Turn off lazy mouse. Make it a lot bigger. Make it a lot weaker. And come in this way. And then down this way. Then we're going to use move. We're just going to grab the center here and pull it out, and then pull it in. We're going to go in and up. That. Now we're going back to subtool. We're going to select him. And so far, the armor is looking pretty good. But now we need his pauldrons. Actually, we need to go, well, we still got him. Let's zoom in. And we're going to smooth. Well, let's switch back to standard. And we're going to smooth where the boots are. That's kind of like where the wild things are, but with boots instead of wild things. Yeah, there we go. Unfortunately, we kept most of our wrinkles. It is 8:30. We are halfway through. Okay, so next up is pauldrons. We're going to select our buddy, hide the other armor pieces, click drag to get rid of that. Alright, so what we're going to do, we're in standard, we're going to shrink that mouse, go back up here and turn lazy mouse back on for the masking. And then we're going to start here, kind of draw across, draw up like this. Actually, let's pull it a little thicker, and let's there. We're gonna draw a line here, and once again we're gonna bring this around. Let's do it this way. Then we're going to turn off lazy mouse and we're going to fill in these areas here. And then Control Alt, and we unmask the bottom of those. And then we're going to kind of bling this here. Now we're going to turn it back on so we can do the next one. Okay, bring it around to here. Turn off lazy mouse. Turn up lazy mouse. Turn off lazy mouse, cause we don't need it. By the way, I got a story about why I hate a Christmas song titled "The Most Wonderful Time of the Year." You see, it dates back to Christmas of 1992. Unlike most of you, I was not at home at Christmas of 1992. I was on Paris Island in Marine Corps boot camp. Okay, we're going to make the breastplate visible, just to make sure this is coming up over top. Accept. Now, we're going to Dynamesh it. Geometry, Dynamesh, let's make it 512. We want a little bit higher detail, 512. Okay, now we're going to move, grabbing here and moving up, grabbing here and moving up. The reason for this, we want a little bit higher space under the pauldron here, because it's going to be going over the gorget, the neck armor. Okay. And here we have the pauldrons. We're going to smooth the arms a little bit because they've got cloth on them. And the same thing with the legs. There's not going to be any thigh plate or upper arm plate. They're tough boys. And at the same time, this is going to be a very small figure. So we don't necessarily want it to be ultra ripped. I'm going to smooth that out here. We're going to really smooth the legs, because if we did that, we're going to go back up to damn standard. We're going to turn off lazy mouse. We're going to shrink it intensity down a good bit. We're going to shrink this down a good bit, and we're going to just kind of add, we're going to kind of bring it around the edge here just to sharpen that off. Okay. Same thing right here. Oh. Okay. We're going to assume that the arms and legs are cloth. You can paint them. You can paint them as metal if you want. We're going to smooth out the front here of the calf. And the front here of the calf. Because the greaves. It's going to start there. And then there. And there. Remember, culture in many worlds. Whoop. Like in the game I used to run, Gnome dwarves in some regions delve too deep. Okay. And that's going to be extracted out at a 0.02. Accept. Draw. Now we're going to grab the move tool, shrink it down. We're just going to grab the front and only the front and pull it up over the knee. Do the same thing here. Grab the front and only the front. Whoop. Tilt it back a bit and pull it up above the knee. Oh, back a little bit more. Now we're going to geometry. We're going to Dynamesh at 256. Dynamesh. Now 14,758. We're gonna. That's all we need. We're going to detail this later. In fact, it's very possible because of a mild headache that I'm starting to get that I may detail this after I sign off. We're going to go ahead, go to Scene 16, increase this to 20. We're going to draw on the front and back scenes for the greaves. Too big and too deep. There we go. The other direction starts up here. And up here. And down here. Whoop. There we go. And then down the center of the back of the leg. And then the side up up the center. Whoop. There. We're now going to the chest armor. And we're going to add, with transparency on, seams going up. Actually, make these a little bit bigger. Up. Down. The breastplate. That didn't work. There we go. Hide the pauldrons. Not those. These. And do the same thing here. Just in case any of it gets visible underneath the rest of the armor. Oh, wrong way. Goes. Yeah. So now we have our seams. Now it's going to be time to make the neck armor. Which means you've got to hide everything here. Okay. Now this is going to be tricky. Go to standard and shrink it even more. And we're going to come around down here. And up here. And then bring it around and over. Let's make this even. Then we're going to go here and come down to there. Actually, we need to turn lazy mouse back on. Yeah. Here. Down to there. In case you're wondering why I gave it a bit of a hook at the end, that's because I wanted to make sure it was sharp, or have room for me to make it sharp. And then bring this around to there. Let's make the waist plate visible. Okay. Alright, now we turn off lazy mouse, 1, 2, and start filling in where the gorget is going to be, and sharpening those points. Whoop. And bring that to there. Bring this here. Once we have this filled in over here, we're going to clean that up. We're going to do it with the transparency on. Make sure we get the whole thing. Okay, now I'm going to go from here to there. Oh no, I need a little bit deeper. There. We're going to turn the breastplate back on and the pauldrons on. I mean, you can't see most of this now, this is going to be a 0.038. Extract. Accept. Draw. And now we're going to use move. Big time. Once again, we're going to make it transparent. We're going to select the tip and drag it out to roughly even with that. We're then going to shrink it a bit and pull this out. Then we're going to select the pauldrons because we need to make this come out a bit and be on top. Yeah, there we go. Turn off transparency. There's our pauldrons. I'm going to go ahead and use damn standard here. And we're going to make sure lace mouse is on and bring that radius up. We're going to come in. Turn on transparency, make it a little bit bigger, and make it a little bit stronger. Okay. What we're going to do is we're going to start off here, and then no, we need to come around this way. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to make it in one swell swoop. What that'll do is that'll give us a little bit of detailing. Alright. Now, yes, this is a pretty jacked gnome. This is what a gnome with a 20 strength looks like. Let me top this off here. Alright. Now, we load in his shield and sword now. Frame out. Zoom out. He's already looking pretty cool. Now we're going to hide everything except for that. I'm going to select it. And the reason we did that is so that we can now make his bracers. And what we're going to have it at a slight angle. And go down to there. Then and make it go to there. And then just a little bit extra. Have that bracer. We're going to do the thing with. We're going to start here and we're going to go up to about there. We're going to do it a couple of because it's different from here to there. And then down, down, down. Okay. This is going to be a 0.2. So we extract at a 0.02, extract, accept, draw, hide. we'll go back to him and undo the masking. And go back to there. And you may or may not have noticed, I accidentally forgot to undo that. So what we're going to do is we're going to mask that whole area off. Turn on transparency to make sure we got it all. Okay, and then we're going to click to invert, turn off transparency, go to visibility, hide point. Geometry, modify topology, delete hidden. We're going to go ahead and turn the boots back on. The pauldrons, boots. We are going to, under geometry, Dynamesh 256. And subdivide. Go to seam 16. And we are going to come up this side, go down this side. Okay. The problem with that particular song is that on Christmas Day, we were sitting on polishing our boots all day. And the only music playing was that song, playing repeatedly over and over and over and over again. Utterly annoying. Okay, so we have a Gnome. Now is we're going to go ahead and add on some hair. So we're going to go back to Mr. Gnome. This time we're actually using the actual gnome himself. Turn on transparency. We don't have any. Oh, we do. There. All masking. Zoom in on the head. No. No. Alright, now we're going to go back to standard. And we're going to draw on. We're going to give him, well, kind of a I know, let's give him kind of a Prince Valiant haircut. And because he's a gnome, his ears will poke out of this Prince Valiant haircut. But just imagine the gnome with the Prince Valiant. That's just kind of funny. I have to clear that off. And redo. Whoop. There we go. Let's go ahead and turn all of these off just because they are getting in the way. Okay, now turn off transparency and then start filling in where the hair will be. And I think I just heard one of the kitties knock over the laundry basket. Trim it flat there and here. Okay, we're also going to kind of bring it back that way and back, whoop, back that way. Okay. Now extract this at 0.01. Except we're going to clay buildup tool, but this time we're going to turn on auto masking, backface masking. Okay. We're also going to make, we're just going to fill in volume here, make it as straight and flat as possible. Very little curl. I think I can probably get away with being a bit eccentric with this guy, simply because the kind of person who would play a Gnome Paladin would probably get a kick out of the extraordinarily anachronistic hairstyle. You know what I mean? Then again, what can I say? Half-Orc Bard is number 4 on this list, going in reverse of least common archetype, character class combinations. Okay, now let's subdivide it till it's nice and smooth. Lower. This time Dynamesh it to 512. And then subdivide it again. Now we go to slash. Okay, let's drop that sub, bring it down, bring it up to 14, and bring the size down quite a lot. Okay, and we're just going to basically sit here and, actually no, add lazy mouse, increase the intensity to about there. Yeah. Oh, no, we need that lazy mouse to be pretty high. Okay. Let's increase this just a little bit. That's, yeah. go back here. And also back there, and kind of up here. Okay. Now, instead of the usual going and sharpening, we're going to do something different. We're going to rake. Okay, it's on add. We're going to lazy mouse on. We're going to change that lazy step to 0.005. And then we're going to see what happens when we bring it down. Okay, that's too small and too strong. Whoops. I know I forgot. Backface masking. Nope, still too big. Or too small. Okay, and then just kind of whoop, whoop. Yeah, there we go. Now, frame out. Yeah. Well, let's go ahead and bring some on the foreground. Whoops. Geometry, Dynamesh of 1280. Divide, delete lower, zoom in, turn on transparency, and zoom down the front. Okay. Frame out. Open up Subtool and turn on the shield sword, bracers, gorget, pauldrons, waist plate, and chest plate. And here we have detailing. Not a lot. It's basically going to be, you know, kind of some rivets on the shield, maybe a wood grain pattern on the back, and just refining the sword a bit. However, it is also 5 after 9, and I'm, like I said, I got a headache, so I'm going to go ahead and pause this. Now, because I have a mostly figure, what I'm going to be doing is save as. And it's going to be under New Base Fig, Broadcast, Gnomeo, Gnomemod, Save. Presto. Move that out of the way. And anyway, so I'll be on camera. Yeah. Do 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 do. Hey Carlton, how's it going, little buddy? Yeah. Okay, down on the floor because I'm getting ready to sign off. I've got a headache, you know that. Okay. All right. And just in case you didn't see it, I got the head for the Tarrasque printed. It's gray, not blue, but it's got shine from the monitor. Yeah. And to keep in mind the scale, Valandar the Red, Tarrasque head. Wyvern that is one size category too large. This is actually larger than the standard Wyvern. Tarrasque head. Yeah, that's how big these guys are. I've got torso chunks printing right now. But as it is, all I've got right now is a little Tarrasque tadpole. Blurp, 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 blurp. Yeah. Tarrasque tadpole. That's how they reproduce, yeah. And these horns came out really, really sharp. But because they printed like this, they'll probably break at some point. Anyway, the rest of the body is printing now, and the limbs, the legs and arms would be printing starting midday tomorrow until hopefully early morning Saturday. Because I'm going to try and get them assembled and glued together before D&D so I can say, never put this on the table. And then I'll have it with me Wednesday at our game. Anyway, I am going to go ahead and do my usual goodbye. Because I need to get some Aleve and get some rest. So that's going to be, I count from 5 to 1. When I get to 1, I say something goofy, pithy, or deep. And then go, when I can see the on the screen, that means that I've caught up with the innate lag for YouTube, and I can go ahead and log out. Okay? Yep, see you Wednesday. That's going to be a 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The funny thing is, if the Tarrasque was anything like the legend, then casting a simple first-level Bless spell would make it completely peaceful and harmless and vulnerable to normal weapons.